which deals with how Yaakov got the brachas from his father Yitzchak. That Yaakov got the brachas from his father Yitzchak, which were intended and they were intended for Yitzchak intended them for Esau. That's to say, Rivka and Yitzchak had two sons who were twins, Yaakov and Esau. And Esau turned out to be taken off the cover, yeah. And Esau turned out to be Esau. He turned out to be very unpleasant news. And Yaakov, we see, as the Pasha tells us, he was a Ishtam Yoshevoyalim. He was a, how do you call it, a very perfect person, a very communistic person, that he sat the whole time and he learnt Torah in the tents of Torah. So yeah, when Yitzchak got old, then he went blind. We're told in the Parsha that he couldn't see anymore. And he decided that he wanted to bless. I'm just looking where we should come in. He wanted to bless Esau. Now, why would Yitzchak want to bless Esau? But that's a question. Why would he want to bless him? But nonetheless, that's what happened. Mm-hmm. And Rivka happened to hear, behind the door, that Yitzchak was telling Esau to go get him, good food, to go and hunt meat, and make him a whole suda. And I'll tell you what he would, Levi,
yeah.
Are you with us? You're all buried underneath that thing. First of all, you're buried by your hand, and then you're buried by that. I can't even see you. So.
I'm here.
Good. It's got to be sort of here,
Okay.
So, Rivka hears that Yitzchak says to Esau he's going to bench him if he brings him the necessary food and so on. So she says to Yaakov, "Oh, quickly you go and slaughter the necessary food, and I'll make up, all the best food possible and whatever's necessary, and you'll take it in before Esau comes back, because I happen to have a couple of goats and animals, locally, and the Medrash learns that they were ready for Korban Pesach, the whole thing. But anyway, we don't have to wait, but you go out in the field and hunt like your brothers done." Mm. So get together, and Yaakov says to him, "But listen, if I do that, God forbid I'm a different person than Esau, who else have a lot of hair and things like that. That's, even though he doesn't see, he'll wake up, I'm not Esau, and then I'll bring a klala more than a bracha." So Rivka said, "Listen, if he's going to have many klalas, and I take them on my head." Yeah. She said, "So important it is, you have to go, and you must go straight away and do what I said, and you got to get in there to get the bracha." So we see that Yaakov goes in to Yitzchak, and he asks him, "Who are you? You come very quick. I said to go out in the field and hunt, how come you came so quick?" So he said, who are you? And so Yaakov says, I'm Esau, your Bechor. And the whole thing appears to be very, very odd, you know, that Yaakov tells him, and then Yitzchak's under the impression that it's Esau, and he gives him wine to drink, but Rivka didn't give him wine, but nonetheless he produced wine from somewhere, and he gave it to Yitzchak to drink, and plus all the beautiful food. And Yitzchak ate and he tasted from everything, from the wine, and then all of a sudden he gives these, you know, amazing and absolutely tremendous blessings. So I just want to refer to a verse here in the whole thing, that afterwards Yaakov goes out, after he's got these most amazing brachas from Yitzchak, Yaakov runs out. And just as he's going out, Esau comes in. And Esau comes in, he's made time hunted, and he's prepared also a very beautiful series of foods and everything. And he says to Yitzchak, here I am, you know. So Yitzchak says, well, you know, who's this? He says, somebody was here and he took all the brachas, and I can't give twice, you know, I've given to him the brachas, and that's it. It's, so Esau is absolutely thunderstruck, you know, and he goes into a whole series of very severe reactions, and he weeps. And, he says, you know, this brother of mine is already deceived me twice now. He got my bechora through deception, now he's got my blessing. And that's why they call him Yaakov, because it's Lashon Eikev, a heal, like he's, to use the old expression, he's healing me, you know, he's misdealing with me, and now this is the second time, and he's taken all my bracha. So, I just want to refer to Pasuk in chapter 27, Lamed Hey. Pasuk Lamed Hey. It's chapter 27, Pasuk Lamed Hey. This is Yitzchak now talking to Esau, as to he basically said to Esau, I'm sorry, oh boy, but I can't do anything for you, you know, I've already blessed whoever it was that was here before, and he got all the blessings. You're more or less, you're a write-off, you know, so in the end he did give him a couple of blessings.
To Esau.
To Esau, yeah. But we won't go into that. It was like a sort of not by any means the whole profundity and circumference of the brachas that he gave to Yaakov. Right. So in the middle of the conversation that they had when Esau came in, then what's his name's Yitzchak says to Esau like this. He says, Vayomer bo ochicha, he woke up that the first person must have been Yaakov. You follow? So he says, bo ochicha b'mirmo vayikach es birchasecha. He said, your brother came with deception. Yeah? Mirmo means like, you know, how to call it a bluff, you know, like deceiving. So he said, your brother's come with deception and with trickery, and he's taken your brother. So I can't help you. That's basically what he's saying. So let's take a look at what Rashi says on Lamed Hey. Rashi says, B'mirmo b'chochma. Rashi is obviously coming to correct Moshe, because the word mirmo, like we said, means, you know, a trickery. So Rashi says, no, it doesn't mean that, it means chokhmah. Mm-hmm. That's to say that sometimes you can use chokhmah in such a way that looks to be it looks to be trickery. What looks to be as if there's some sort of a pitch still there, which is not completely getting together. And yet, nonetheless, really, it's a very profound wisdom. There's something behind it all. So Rashi, Rashi corrects that Yitzchak said to him, he came with deception, and Rashi says, Chokhmah. He came with Chokhmah, and he took away your blessing. So in other words, Chokhmah has a much deeper and more profound implication. But that would tend to indicate, if you use Chokhmah for something, then Chassidus teaches us that the word Chokhmah indicates bittul, that it's called self-nullification. The more Chokhmah you have, the more you're selfless. You're not into the self. And the etzem concept of the word Chokhmah is koyavma, according to Tan and Perigimel, which means that it's like an expression of the power of the soul, and yet on the other hand, it's like being given away to a higher power, in other words, to Hashem in this particular case. But remember, if Rashi puts the word Chokhmah under those circumstances in place of the word Milma, well, that tends to indicate that really Yaakov was given over here to some very profound purpose, which is based on very deep wisdom of Torah, which implies complete will to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, selflessness and devotion to the will of Hashem. That's what Chokhmah basically means. A Chocham in Torah is somebody who just doesn't learn Torah and know how to say a good pshat. A Chocham in Torah is somebody who's devoted to Hashem's will more than what other people are. That's what it implies. So we have to understand, how does that come together to what appears to have been quite a bit of trickery happening here. Rashi describes it as Chokhmah. Well, obviously with that, Rashi is trying to save the collision in our minds with, the perfect Yaakov being involved in something which seems to be strange, And he's trying to correct that, Rashi. And he's really saying that deep inside, this is not trickery at all. It's Chokhmah. Whereas the Ebenezer, the great Mafir, the great Rishon, the Ebenezer, he says that Mirma means exactly what it says. And he says that Yaakov didn't say the truth. That's what he said. But once again, if I say I didn't say the truth, or I say I tell sheker, that's two things. If I say to you a sheker, you know what a sheker is?
A liar.
And it's called a lie, a bluff, absolute bluff. If I say that, then I'm not telling truth, because I'm telling sheker. However, there are certain cases in life where you say to a person, listen man, you don't have to tell them a sheker, but on the other hand, you're not obliged to say the whole truth.
Yeah.
You're not obliged to say the whole truth. In other words, you can sort of keep something back, if that will bring out a good result. So, when the Ebenezer says that Yaakov didn't speak the truth, then maybe what he means is that Yaakov didn't speak sheker. He didn't say the heper of truth. He just didn't tell the whole truth, In other words, he got on the better side of Yitzchak without telling the whole truth. Well, that's a slightly more severe way than what Rashi says. Rashi says it's a completely different concept altogether. But nonetheless, it's like a trying to save the situation for Yaakov. So what we need to do here in this whole parsha, we need to understand two main basic questions, main issues, and that is, they say that in the winter people droop into sleep more than what they do in the summer. But you guys are also not too bad in the summer.
You have a very soothing voice. Your voice is a very nice voice.
So, we need to understand two main issues. And the first thing that sort of hits us in the, what you might call, in the eye, why would Yitzchak, who was the Medrash says about our forefathers, and the Alter Rebbe brings it in Tanya, that the Ovis, they are the chariot, they are the holy chariot, Mila, which means they are just completely and utterly batil, absolutely to Ratzon Hashem. And L'chora, they're also Nevi'im. It's much in certain places that they had the power of Nevuah. And Rashi says in Pasha Vayero that Sarah was even better at how they call prophetic in Yonim, even better than Avram. Right. But that implies that both of them were at it. So Yitzchak being a son of Avram, he was probably also a Novi. If that's the case, why would he want to bench Esau? What did Yitzchak see that would be an advantage in benching a guy? Elohim Cain, we could maybe argue that Yitzchak, because he was blind, he didn't know what was going on with Esau.
That's also the question. How can Yaakov think he can deceive Yitzchak if he's...
So why would Yitzchak want to bless somebody that he, L'chora, even though it's written that Yitzchak loved Esau very much, he tired befiv, he used to, so Rashi says he used to say the sort of things to Yitzchak that he would want him to say, but even he exaggerated in that he would go, and therefore he brings down Rashi an example that he asked Yitzchak, how do you take miser from the straw? If only you know the whole thing. But in Emerson, the Rabbi learns that was a very clever question, and there's a lot, there's a famous sikh of the Rabbi about it, but in simple terms, he was trying to be, super from it.
Right. So he was like a big tall sucker on there.
He was trying to be, overdone from.
Yeah.
And through that, win the favor of Yitzchak. But nonetheless, Yitzchak being, as we just said, a Merkava, Telekuz, and also being an Ovi, it's hard to imagine that he bought that, 100%. So therefore, we have to assume that Esau, Yitzchak, knew who Esau was, or Al-Chaponim. He knew partly what was going on with Esau. So why would he want to bench Esau? What did he...
To destroy evil.
What did he see by benching? And this was a very big Indian,
Still had lots of potential.
That he said, once I've given these brachas, I can't do it again. This is it. Whoever gets them, gets them. Meaning that they're very powerful, how do you call it, made blessings from, in front of Hashem. And that's it. And once you've given them, how do you say, that's the best I can do. I can't do anymore. So that's number one. Number two, and if already we're going to say that Rivka, she wanted to make sure that Yaakov would get the brachas, shouldn't she have gone into Yitzchak, her husband, and sat him down and had a long talk with him and said, listen here, man, don't bench this Esau guy, bench my son, Yaakov, do it the right way. Instead of that, what does she do? A whole trickery. And l'chora, that trickery puts Yaakov into a potentially bad situation. Because he's taking a risk. If somehow or another, the Ad Kidei Kach, it got close. It got very close. Because he said that the voice is the voice of Yaakov, But the hands are the hands of
Esau.
Esau. And when you have somebody very intimate in your family, like a son or a son, or somebody's wife, they can recognize one another in their voices.
Yeah.
You can know who you're talking to through the voice. So when he said that the voice is the voice of Yaakov, it must have appeared very much to him that this was in effect Yaakov. But he said the hands are the hands of Esau. So I suppose he thought, well, I can maybe be suspected as having a mistake in the voice. You know, I can maybe suspect myself. But the hands are GAFNE, and here I feel the hands have got a lot of hair. So apparently that sort of swung the issue. However, it got very close. And like the Ebenezer said, Yaakov, he was asked, are you in effect, are you the right person? Are you Esau? And he said, yes, I am. And Rashi learns that he grammatically put the word anoichi in, and he made that separate. And what he said, Esau, is another phrase. But I mean, it's all very sort of, clever and very delicate. And so of course, the Ebenezer says he didn't say the truth.
Yeah.
So comes along
said, I am.
Rashi said, I'm sorry, man. And I said that. Yaakov did this all b'chokmah. So we need to understand what is the chokmah. What is so essential that the prophet should go to Esau, to Yaakov, and if it is essential, then why did it have to go through trickery?
Those are all the questions.
Yeah. So, having put forward the questions, we now have to approach, without all the details, without going into too much detail, we have to approach the actual blessings themselves. And we see that the blessings start off with V'yiten lecho Elokim mital hashamayim or mishmanei ha'oretz v'roi dogon, v'shiroi. It all appears to be, I saw you down there quite a long time ago. There's a thing that if a class is being given and you're supposed to attend it, then you should come on time. If you're not supposed to attend it, then you don't have to come. Although to be away and to come in the middle, that's a little bit, probably not quite, you know what I mean? Okay, so ask yourself the question, what are these inyonim, what is it, the whole thing? And then he said, you're going to be, the balabos over your brother, and you'll rule over him, and the whole thing. Now, the truth is that there's been an earlier blessing that Rivka got when she went to find out what happened, that she's got twins. And she asked in Beis Medrash of Shem Ba'eba, and the base either Shem or Eva, whoever it was, they said to her that you've got two big leading peoples in your womb.
How were they alive?
Eh?
How were they alive?
How are they still alive?
Yeah.
Shem Ba'eba?
Yeah.
Well, they were big guys. Shem Ba'eba lived a long time. They lived a long time. Even Yaakov, and Yitzchak and Ron, they lived also considerably long, not like at the beginning of the creation. Anyway, she heard from Beis Medrash Shem Ba'eba that he said to her that the Rav is going to serve the younger one. A Rav means big, or the older one. The bigger one will come out first. He will serve the younger one. Right? Mm-hmm. So, Kuntais Lafi said that anyway, Rivka knew that Esau was going to end up being batel to Yaakov. So she could have gone into Yitzchak and she could have said to him, listen, I heard that, so it appears that all the years Rivka must have hidden that from Yitzchak. Because if Yitzchak knew that Rivka had heard from Shem Va'eva when she was pregnant with the two brothers, that the elder one of the Bechor was going to serve the younger one, then he wouldn't think of giving that blessing to Esau. Because it's written clearly that Esau was going to be bottled to the younger one. So we have to say that she didn't tell him that. Yes, she didn't tell him that. But that's interesting, that she wouldn't want to tell him such a Ika thing. Because if Yitzchak knew that, then he wouldn't prepare a blessing for Esau, making him the barabot. That would be mamish against Ratzon Hashem. And if you do things which are not Lafi Ratzon Hashem, you don't have Atzlacha. B'terech Klal. Not only B'terech Klal. Period. As Ramelah, and Lafi said that the whole thing is very, very strange, you know. What is going on around here? So we could maybe suggest that the reason she didn't want to tell him was that she wanted eventually, whenever he would give that bracha to Yaakov, we have to say that she foresaw in her nevuah that eventually there would be a struggle between the two of them, who gets the bracha, right? So she didn't want to tell him that, so that when he gave the bracha, he would give it without knowing that. He wouldn't know that she already knew that Yaakov was going to be the leader and that Esau would have to be bottled to him. And nonetheless, he would give that miraculously to Yaakov. So what do we earn by that? So if Yitzchak would have known, he wouldn't have had the whole Kesel Chadaita to give to Esau, and he would have given to Yaakov Lechatchila. So what do we earn by this whole tremendous, sort of roundabout? She didn't tell him, and he said no, and then there had to be a whole trick to get that Yaakov should get the bracha, because that was, Esau thought of doing the opposite of what Hashem had already said to Rivka. So, the whole thing is very strange. Why did it have to go that way? If she would have told him Lechatchila, he would have thought, you're giving the brachas to Yaakov. We need to sort of understand what's going on here with this whole trickery. So some people want to say, and especially in the Ramban, like this, that there's a maila when a person like Yitzchak, and for that matter anybody, does a mitzvah or a inyan without really knowing beforehand what's the score. And kilo, it comes without his real intention. It's how they would call it belida. And he didn't know. And so he didn't know. And so he wanted to give a days and had to go around the other way and come to Yaakov. So what is the mila that we could suggest that Yitzchak didn't know? Who lawyered that? So I want to tell you, at the end of the Likutei Torah, mamish at the end in Pasha Bracha, before Shiur Shem is another whole part. But the end of the Likutei Torah on the Parshiyas, the Alter Rebbe has got a whole thing over there, and he says there are two types of mitzvahs. There's one mitzvah that we do because we're obliged to do it, and we know that we're obliged to do it, and we know the situation in front of me, and we go ahead with our knowledge and do the mitzvah. And then he says there are another type of mitzvahs which come to us only without us knowing. And for example, there's a mitzvah in the Torah of Shichacho. Do you know what Shichacho is? If you, cutting your crops, and you make, they used to make these omerim, you used to make these gathering together, and you forget one. You go in the field, and you forget one in the field, and you only realize when you've gone further that you forgot it. Are you allowed to go back and take it?
No. No.
You guys don't know there's a mitzvah called Shichacha that you're not allowed to go back and take it. You have to leave it for the
Why do I
Over the Oni and the Levi and
Yeah.
people like that. You'll have to go back and take it. So, and it's put down that that's a very high mitzvah, and you can't even make a bracha on it, because it's like something that happens to you, and it comes to you without your knowledge. Had you done things according to your knowledge, you would have picked it up.
Like the one of the birds.
Huh?
Like the bird one.
Bird?
Yeah, that you like put away the bird and take the eggs.
Oh,